Catie and the third semester. It was a lovely day on the island of New Florida, and the trains were being really useful with their rolling stock. Catie was delivering limeade to North Onesinghalf. She was early. Mr. Cakester arrived. "I have a special job for you," he said. "I need you to help Milena move some equipment over to South Onesinghalf today," he said. "That's an exciting job, sir," said Catie, and she puffed off to help Milena. She arrived in the yard. "You're here early, Catie," Milena said. "Let's deliver the Cardinal." They buffered up to the Cardinal train, and they set off along the main line. They had to stop at a station to let passengers on. And then they set off after the train was divided. The other train clattered on down the other track. "They've got to get this done soon," said Milena, and then they saw the train from down below. It was in the mountains. Catie and Milena were working hard as they could with the 48 coaches. They were deadheading and there were no people on board. They puffed up the grade with their coaches. It was a long train, but the two engines carried on. The coaches were heavy. Then there was a strange sound. One of the wheels seized up. And then the coupling broke. And then the other coupling broke. And then the brake block snapped off completely. And then Catie and Milena rolled up the hill after the couplings had broken. And the rest of the train rolled up the hill. And it rolled and it rolled. And then it started going backwards. "What is happening?" cried the other passengers. The coaches rolled down the line at high speed. They were empty, but it didn't matter if anyone was on it, because the train was way out of control. The passengers at the station were terrified. It was the highest speed they had ever seen. Milena and Catie tried to save it, but then there was trouble! "Oh no!" cried Megan! Crashed. "Sorry about that," they said. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Catie and Megan and Milena crashed right into Megan. "Sorry about that," said Megan. "I didn't see you there," she said while she was on her side. "Don't worry," said Catie. "Sasha will get us back to safety." Then Sasha came to the rescue and she pulled Catie and Milena back onto the rails. "Thank you very much," they said. "There you have it," said Sasha. "You're back on the rails." "But I'm sorry that you can't save a runaway train. I think Ida will save it." "You're right, she will," said Catie. "Ida is on the job," said Sasha firmly. And Ida chased after the runaway train. "Stop, please!" wailed Ida. "You gotta stop!" But the coaches were going faster and faster. The train had turned into a roller coaster. Then two diesel locomotives pulling the crescent past, and Ida raced after the runaway train. Passengers were safe inside their roomettes and bedrooms, but the train was out of control. They rolled down the line. They were out of control. Two women were working on the tracks, but they made a mistake. The wheelbarrow's handles were stuck on the rails. Then there was trouble. "A wheelbarrow!" they cried. Dirt had flown everywhere, and the train rolled by. With all the coaches. "Sorry, can't stop," called Ida. "I have to save this runaway train." And the coaches clattered along the track. They were going way too fast to stop safely. They rolled backwards really fast. They passed a CSX freight train. The crew members in the cab were terrified. I can't stop to help, said Ida. I have to catch up to this runaway train. The coaches clattered fast, but with no engine, they couldn't stop. Then there was trouble. Ida had heard the crash for miles. When she arrived, she was shocked. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but the coaches were all derailed and scattered all over the town. Then Catie arrived with her passenger train. I'll take my train and yours at the same time, she said to Ida, and then she buffered up, and the passengers were all on board, and Catie and Ida puffed off with all the passengers inside. The coaches were back on the rails. For the rest of the day, the passengers were having the best ride ever, and Ida brought Catie back to the station. The passengers were enjoying the more comfortable ride. It was the best thing they had ever wished for. Especially the commuters. They arrived at Union Station on time. And Ida shunted the coaches into the yard. Mr. Cakester had some terrible news for Ida. Christina has blown her gasket, he said. Ida, I'd like you to collect your commuter train and bring it to Flatport. I'm into it, sir, said Ida, and she steamed off to Union Station. She buffered up to the commuter cars with the children going to school, and she set off on her own. She arrived at Eastfield Station to drop everyone off. But then she started to speed up. When she applied to her brakes, they snapped off and caught fire. Oh no! Cried Ida. And then the train started to go really fast. Help! She cried. These train cars are too heavy. And then she clattered down the tracks at high speed. She was rocketing out of control. Milena had just shunted freight cars after being repaired, but then she heard Ida. "I have to save you," said Milena to Ida. And she raced off to the rescue. She raced out in front of Ida. "I've got you," she said, and then she bumped Milena's tender, and Milena skidded with her brakes and all her effort, and at last she brought Ida to a grinding halt without pushing the diesel engine's face. "Thank you," she said. Catie arrived with Mr. Cakester. He was also pleased. "You did a good job, Milena," he said. "Thank you, sir," she said. "Even though Ida's was repaired after her brakes were checked, she is always good at being gentle with rolling stock."